Well, hello friends, Coach Bob with you today, and today, man, are we going to be answering life's biggest questions. So you're standing on the precipice, you're looking over the edge, and you're asking yourself, what is the meaning of life? No, it's nothing that pressing. It's simply this. You know, I get asked often, very often, and actually had some discussions online this week with some folks about why I went to three wheels. Now, you know, for everyone, I guess it's a little bit different, but there should be some motivating factors in here for you more than just problems. You know, there are people who have no choice but to go to three wheels, but that's really not the direction we're going. We know for those people, they don't have a choice if they're going to ride. Like, for example, if Coach Vic were going to ride, she doesn't have a choice. She's paralyzed. You have someone who can't stand. They're going to have something that's not going to fall over. But we're going to talk about all that, and we're going to figure it out. 10 reasons why you, yes you, should be getting on three wheels. And it's, like I said, it's way more than just, you know, some sort of physical anomaly. We may even talk about your personality type in here, of what kind of person you need to be even. All right, but before we get going, if you would do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, give it a big old fat thumbs up, because a regular thumbs up won't do. It better be a fat one. All right. And make sure, again, you leave a comment. Tickle that algorithm. Gucci goo, baby. The more you're engaged, the more the channel grows, and the more I like it. So again, these will be in no particular order, but let's just start out with number one, because this is one that is very, very true. It just feels safer. You know, if you're a person who's riding and you like to ride with that feeling of danger, you know, this just feels safer. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that with another reason later on about perception. But it does, you know, you're not constantly thinking about road surface changes. You're not having to think about the little things constantly that are on your mind when you're on a two-wheeler, and it just gives you that warm feeling of security, and that's a good thing. So I'm not gonna go deep into that, but that feeling is very, very real, and your perception of what you feel when you ride is very important. It changes how often you want to ride, how far you want to ride, the conditions you want to ride in. If you feel more safe and you feel more confident, you're going to be more prone to ride, and you're just going to enjoy the experience a lot more. Number two. Now, number two is a good one, because this is one that, for new riders, this is a big plus. It's easier to learn to ride this than it is a regular conventional motorcycle. It really is. And when I say easier, I don't mean a little bit easier. I mean a lot easier. You can see there's no clutch over here. You're not using a handbrake. There's no handbrake over here. You don't have a gear shift lever on your left-hand side over here for your feet. And you just simply have a brake lever right there to stop it, and a thumb paddle shifter for upshifting, and it downshifts on its own. So really, if you can steer it, you can simply move your thumb, and you can use a foot brake. You can ride this thing. In fact, I'm going to tell you, my son, I taught him to ride this thing literally in a matter of minutes. He had never even sat on one, and he was riding it in minutes. We rode around the neighborhood a few times, and then within 15 minutes, he was out on roads like this. It really is a simple machine to learn to ride. There are things you need to learn, obviously, as you get better. You want your skill level to be higher up. But the idea of learning to ride, you can throw that one out. If you're afraid to learn to ride, that's a reason to go to a three-wheeler over a two-wheeler, because this is just way easier. And I'm going to even go further than that. This is way easier than the conventional trike, where you're using a clutch and a gear shift lever like on the Tri-Glide. This is just a much easier thing to ride. There's just no doubt about that whatsoever. And as a guy who's ridden everything, I know what I'm talking about on this. Now, number three kind of stems off of number two. Not only is it easier to learn to ride, it's easier to ride. Now, I know you're saying, well, yeah, obviously, duh, but let me explain this. When you're riding, there's a lot of things that go on when you ride. There's this hyper focus that we have when we ride, and if you don't have that, you really need to develop it. That guy just ran a red light. You really need to develop that side of what you're doing But this allows you, when you're doing that riding experience, because it's easier to ride, it can do one of two things. One is bad. It can make you complacent and lazy, and you go, oh, I'm just cruising along like I am in a car. That's a bad thing. The easier to ride part of it that is good is that it allows you to pay more attention to what's going on around you. And the more you are aware of the big picture of what's going on around you, the less prone you are to die on a motorcycle. And that's just the way it is. So it's easier to ride, and that is a huge plus, just absolutely massive. And I mentioned in number 3 that you're going to feel less distracted, and number 4 is simply that you are less distracted while you're riding because it is easier to ride. So 3 and 4 obviously tie together, but you are a much less distracted rider. One of the things, though, that I will tell you, in modern day motorcycles, as with automobiles, there's a lot of stuff down here. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on here with the switchgear. When I was teaching my son to ride, I simply told him this: bump the blinker with your thumb. If you can't find it, you know what your hand signals are, use them. Do not waste your time looking down. What kills you is not right here, it's out there. Pay attention to what's going on out here and don't worry about all this nonsense. This will create a distraction for out there, and that will get you killed. Okay, so be less distracted because it's easier to ride. Don't allow, like I said, accoutrements to distract you. All right, we're moving right along. We're up to number 5. Now, number 5 is one that's very common in the two-wheeled world, and if you're an adventure rider, man, you're pretty used to this. You don't have to worry about dropping it. Now, I know you're saying, Coach, I don't worry about dropping it anyway. Anyone who's ever dropped a motorcycle, which is anyone who's ever riding for an extended period of time, whether it's in a parking lot, and normally that's when it is too, by the way. You're in that parking lot, you're doing a slow maneuver, and you hit a little gravel, or the bike gets to that point to where it just leans over and you're just not strong enough to protect that last little throw. You can't hold it up, and if you try to hold it up, you're going to pop the old knee out, and then you're going to be hurt and the bike's going to be scratched up. So you don't have to worry about dropping this thing. The amount of confidence that gives a rider, especially if you're with a group of people and you don't have a lot of confidence anyway, this will help you build confidence, knowing that you don't have to worry about this thing falling over. Now, a lot of people, they look at the Spyder and they go, well, you know, they don't even think about that side of it. But that is a big part of riding, is that dropping the bike. Adventure riders, I'm telling you, I drop the bike more than I crank it up. You're just going to drop them. That's just part of the game when you're riding in the woods and on the trails. You just hope you don't damage something or hurt yourself. But you don't have to worry about that on this. Now, can you flip it if you went crazy off in a ditch somewhere and all that? Yeah, you could. But just the simple dropping it ain't gonna happen. All right, number 6. Number 6 is a big one, and it is a very, very true one too, and that is comfort. Now, I've ridden Goldwings, I've ridden Harley Cruisers, I rode Harleys for 20 years. I love Harley, I do. Anyone out there going, Coach Bob hates Harleys, he hates all two-wheelers. Well, I don't hate two-wheelers. I've got, well, right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 5 two-wheelers sitting in my garage right now, ranging from a 1984 to a 2022. You know, I've got a little skin in the game, and the idea of the overall comfort, what is more comfortable, there is no doubt whatsoever that this is more comfortable than any two-wheeled motorcycle you could possibly ride. Now, I know there are a lot of guys out there, I've had people, oh, it's just a Miata, or you might as well be driving a car. You know, nah, it's not the same thing. And people who say that have either never ridden them or they just want to feel important. You know, I'm often attacked for being too nice. I'm not going to use profanity and stomp around like an 8-year-old on the playground to prove a point. You know, and if you have to do that in order to prove a point, then maybe you need to grow up a little bit. But I digress. I started going down the rabbit hole, didn't I? But the idea of comfort, right now, I'm completely comfortable. I've got heated grips. I can turn them babies on. My hands are nice and toasty. I'm sitting in the sunshine. I've got my foot on the brake. I've got good visibility with my mirrors. I'm surrounded by cars. I'm not nervous at all. And I'm just enjoying this experience. I don't have to worry up here when I do the roundabout. How's it going to feel? Is there going to be a wet spot where a car leaked oil on that white line? When I'm going through parking lots, when I'm doing long miles, I don't have the wind buffeting on me. This thing creates a huge vacuum of air with the width in front of your legs and the height of the windshield. It's just a comfortable riding machine. And if you want to be comfortable when you ride, the Can Am Spyder is absolutely second to none when it comes to creature comfort. I'll stack it up against any motorcycle in the world. In the world. There you go. That's big words, isn't it? All right. So comfort. Comfort is a huge thing, and especially as we get older, it becomes important. But when you're young, you know what? Comfort's fun. Comfort can be fun. That dude was honking the horn. That guy was asleep. I guess he was on his phone. He had more important things to do than drive a car, you know. All right, we're about to jump into number 7. But before we do, give the video a thumbs up, share it with your friends. Make sure you don't miss any of this engaging content. Turn on your notification bells. You know all that jazz. You got to do it. Well, I'm going to stop right up here because I got a buddy of mine. He's supposed to buy me a cup of coffee. You know what? You know how that goes. If he's buying, I'm drinking because a cup of coffee up here is probably $6. All right, I'm going to whip out here into this outer lane. Don't you just love roundabouts? All right. All right, we'll pick up on number 7 here in just a second. All right, well, man, that was a good cup of coffee. Boy, it was good, and I had a big old cookie, too, just to let you know. But anyway, number 7, man, number 7 is one that, you know, is really more Spyder specific. Let me close this up. And that is capacity, your touring capacity, your weight capacity, all of your stuff that you can carry. When we travel, even if we're pulling a trailer, so we've obviously got, you know, what a lot of people would have in a car, but just the Spyder alone, if it's a limited, so it's got the back box and then you've got your frunk and then you've got your saddlebags on each side, there is so much storing capacity on here. Computers, shoes, clothes, you name it, man. I mean, it is just, you've got so much room to carry things. It's just unbelievable how much storage this thing has. When we travel, I consider us traveling pretty light, but we have way more room than we utilize. And we wouldn't need the trailer if it weren't for Coach Vic's wheelchair. But the fact that it does carry the wheelchair and it makes all of that super duper easy, it's really nice. Having that wheelchair back there and being able to stow everything. And then at night, we can use that trailer to store things. Now, as with anything, you know, could it be broken into when you stop? It could. So we pretty much unload every night. We have things compartmentalized, but man, you can just carry everything you need and much more. And if you're traveling 2 up, it's absolutely paramount. If you're on the road with your spouse, you want them to feel comfortable and have what they need, and not just have what they need, but have what they want. All right, we are stopped. Get on around. This guy looked like they might be trimming some trees. What are they doing here? Oh, they're doing a little road patch. All right. Yeah, that shoulder was dropping off pretty big, so they're fixing all that up. Nice. Now, number 8 is one that, you know, I absolutely noticed the very first day I got on a Spyder, which my first day on a Spyder of my own was December 21st, 2019. Yes, 2019, December 21st. That's the day that I bought my Spyder. If you're sick of cars pulling out in front of you on a 2-wheeled motorcycle, and you're like, I want to ride, but I'm just sick of that, get a Spyder. I'm not going to say that it never happens. Obviously, it happens some because cars pull out in front of you when you're in a car. But when you're riding this, it happens so much less. It is unbelievable. I would say 80% difference between a 2-wheeled motorcycle and this. It's just much more visible. The profile from the front when a car looks up, they see the width, they see those two front tires, and boom, man, they do not pull out in front of you as often as they do on a two-wheeled motorcycle. And that is an amazing thing. So that fear of being T-boned and all of that stuff, it's real. It's real, and it can still happen to you. And it does happen to people. You know, you're not always visible, and people aren't always paying attention. But the idea that most of the time that someone would have pulled out in front of you on a two-wheeler, they're not going to do it on this, that'll give you a lot of peace of mind. And that is a definite reason to go to a Spyder format. It's really amazing. All right, we'll get through this red light, and then we will grab number 9. Numero 9. All right, number 9 is an interesting one to me, and it's a perception thing. I'm going to start out with an example here. You know, when I was 30 years old and it was time to grab the ladder and change a light bulb, I saw a ladder as the opportunity to change a light bulb. Now I see the ladder as a good way to break an arm or break a leg or break a hip or to get seriously injured. The number of friends that I have that have fallen off ladders at this point and ended up in the hospital, it's more than I want to mention. No doubt, I have more friends that have fallen off ladders and gotten hurt than I have who have been in wrecks on motorcycles. Now, does that mean that climbing a ladder is more dangerous than riding a motorcycle? Well, you can come to your own conclusion about that. But my perception of the ladder is different. Well, just like my perception of danger is different in everything that I do. So your perceived fear, your perceived angst that you have when you get on the Spyder is different. Because when you get on it, all of these things are made more simple. All of those things that I've already mentioned. And when that perception is gone, you can enjoy the experience more. So if you're a little longer in the tooth and you're like, man, I love riding, but man, I'm tired of the angst. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of that. I just want to be able to enjoy the ride like I did when I was 20, like I did when I was 30. You know, there's a lot of people out there, you know, younger guys that criticize the Spyder, the people that ride the Spyder or whatever. Well, you know what? They haven't walked in my shoes. They don't know. And you know what? They haven't walked in your shoes either. So it changes your perception of what the dangers are. The dangers are still out there. Don't get me wrong. You can still get hit by a bus and get flattened like a pancake. But the perceptions of the simple dangers, the simple fears, I had a friend recently who dislocated his knee when he stopped in a parking lot because he planted his foot wrong and the motorcycle fell over because of it. Now I laughed because we laughed about it, and he's like, man, I can't believe it. I did everything right. You know, I stopped, I put my legs down, and the darn knees just aren't as strong as they once were. So now his perception of putting his foot down even has changed. And that's the idea of when I get on the Spyder, all of those perceived angsts that we develop. And look, these are developed as we get older. If you're 20, you don't have that. Not yet. You may have some emotional scarring or whatever here and there. But that angst that you have as you get older, when you hit your 60s and 70s and 80s, and I've got friends in their late 80s that ride Spyders. When you get that old or that long in the tooth, as I like to say, you understand that those fears are real, and those fears can really have long-lasting implications, because when you fall and you get hurt, we don't heal like you did when you were 20. So there's that too. All right. Now number 10 is just a simple one, and this is just a great, and you can say this pretty much about anything that you're into. The reason you should buy a Spyder is they're just fun. They're just fun. When you get on them, you're going to smile. You're going to have a good time. You know, I listened to the Revit podcast, High Side has Zach Kortz and all these different guys. But anyway, they did a review on the Spyder, and they talk about it. It's this, it's that, it's a monstrosity, that it's ridiculous, it's this, all kinds of things. Yammy Noob, who has probably, 1 million subs or whatever, I don't know what he's got, he talks bad about them. What kind of idiot would ride these things, and that's okay. You know what? They can have their idea of what it is, but you know what? They're fun. They're just fun. And you don't have to like it. That's okay. I'm not gonna, there again, I'm not an 8-year-old kid on the playground. I'm not gonna stomp around if you put a comment down below. I hate the Spider. I think they're stupid. Well, that's okay. You're entitled to your opinion. But you know what? They're fun. And I didn't have that perception of them when I first rode one, but I started to get it when I was riding home, when I bought my first one. And the first time that Coach Vic and I went on a nice ride and really went some miles, and she was able to enjoy the experience. We had so much fun as a couple. It was just unbelievable. Our faces were hurting because we were smiling so big. And we just had a great time. So number 10 is just, they're just fun. Now I've got one more thing I'm going to add, and this would be a reason, although I think that this one is so apparent, so readily obvious that, you know, it maybe doesn't even bear saying, but if you're disabled and you want to ride, the Spider's for you. Really, you're going to have to put a handbrake on it. I wish BRP offered that as an option. They don't. There's a company called ISCI. I'll drop a link down below for them that make a handbrake for the Spiders, make one for the Rykers. They're not cheap. But the reality is, if you want to ride and you're paralyzed from the waist down, or you have neuropathy, or you are an amputee, or whatever, you can ride this thing out of the box by simply adding a handbrake. And honestly, from what I've seen of them, mechanically, it's simple enough to install on your own. It's not something you have to take to a shop. If you know how to turn a couple of wrenches, then you're patient, you can install one yourself. That's pretty darn cool. So if you're disabled, this is the machine for you, period. Absolutely, period. You know, when you start looking at motorcycles, like we'll say the Tri-Glide, for example, where you have to be able to utilize a hand clutch, and you have to be able to shift gears with your feet. Those things, the more you, or traditional motorcycle world, where you have to be able to utilize your feet, the less available it is to a lot of people that have problems. You know, we talk about supporting the wounded warriors and things like that. You know, you got a guy who got his legs blown off defending your country, defending your freedom. You know, I want that guy to be able to ride. I want to be able to enjoy getting out and feeling the wind in his face, man. You know, these guys paid a big price, and it's nice to think that there's a company out there that really cares about them. So if you're disabled, this is the machine for you. And if you're having you know, those bizarre feelings and you're like, you know, I'm not sure what to do, you can email me at bob3coach@gmail.com. I will get back to your email as soon as I can. I know there are those of you who have sent emails months ago and I never got back to you, and you know, I get hundreds of emails. It's hit and miss, I'm not going to lie to you. But if I can grab it, you know, don't hesitate to send it a month later or a week later for that matter, and that might be the one that I grab. There's just so many of them, it's hard to get to. But don't hesitate to email me, because you are important. You're what makes this whole world available to us, is that we work together so that we all have the opportunity to ride these fine machines. All right. Well, there it is. 10 reasons and a bonus on why you should buy a Can Am Spider, why you should move into the three-wheeled world, because it's just a lot of fun. All right. Well, there you have it. So do me a favor. Yes, you, go out, buy the motorcycle of your dreams, eat right, take care of yourself, and remember, if you're not having fun, you are definitely doing it wrong. Now, you go seize the day. I'll see you on the road real soon. But I got a little bit more riding to do, man. It is just a beautiful day here in North Florida. My goodness. All right. Please don't hit me. Here we go. Let's burn through a turn. I know what you're saying. That ain't no two-wheeler, Coach. You're right, but it is a very, very, very fun three-wheeler, and I can play too.